Nicole Kidman has filed for divorce from Keith Urban after 19 years of marriage. The court papers show the actress will remain the primary caregiver of the couple's teenage daughters.
When news broke that Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban were ending their 19-year marriage, it sent shockwaves around the world. They had been the couple everyone believed would last forever. But now, at 58, Nicole has finally admitted why it all fell apart, and her words reveal a truth far more painful than the headlines. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's story began like a scene straight out of a Hollywood romance, yet it carried the sincerity of two people who found each other at exactly the right time. In January 2005, both Australians were honored guests at the Day USA Gala in Los Angeles. Nicole, already one of the most recognized actresses in the world, and Keith, a rising country music star, were introduced at the event. Looking back, many fans say it felt like fate had placed them in the same room that night. Nicole later admitted that she felt an instant connection. There was an attraction that sparked immediately for her, but Keith seemed more reserved. In fact, after that first meeting, months passed before he reached out. Nicole once revealed that she thought he might not be interested, while she herself had already developed a quiet crush. That waiting period only made their eventual connection feel like a slow burn, a romance that needed time before it could ignite. When Keith finally did make a move, he made sure it was unforgettable. Nicole has often recalled the moment that sealed her feelings for him. On her birthday, while she was in New York City, Keith surprised her by showing up at her apartment door at 5 in the morning. He stood there holding gardenias, a flower symbolizing purity and love. For Nicole, that moment swept away any hesitation. In her words, she was a goner. It was then she knew what they had was more than a passing attraction. Their relationship grew quickly from there. By May 2006, Keith proposed, and Nicole said yes. Just a month later, on June 25th, they stood before family and friends in a candlelit church in Sydney, Australia. The wedding was deeply personal, blending her Hollywood circle with their shared Australian roots. Nicole's children from her previous marriage to Tom Cruise were there, making the day a true family affair. Photos from the ceremony captured the couple glowing with happiness, and many believed they had found a once-in-a-lifetime love. Yet, even in those early days of joy, challenges began to surface. Just a few months after the wedding, Keith entered rehab to confront his long battle with substance abuse. It was a turning point that could have easily torn them apart, but instead, Nicole stood unwaveringly by his side, choosing loyalty and support over escape. That decision strengthened their bond and revealed the depth of her commitment. They had faced addiction and the relentless scrutiny of public expectation so early in their marriage. What appeared to be victories of love were, in truth, quiet warnings of the battles still ahead. Building a family, career, and shared dreams, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's love story became more than a Hollywood romance. It was a partnership marked by both red carpet glamour and private struggle. When they married, Nicole was already a mother to Isabella and Connor, the children she had adopted with Tom Cruise. Starting anew with Keith gave her a chance to rebuild a sense of home she had long been missing. In 2008, they welcomed their first daughter, Sunday Rose, and 2 years later, their second, Faith Margaret. With 4 children between them, the Kidman-Urban household became a lively, blended family filled with warmth, chaos, and love. Nicole often described motherhood as her anchor, the role that grounded her no matter how high her fame soared. She embraced becoming a mother again later in life, finding in it both joy and wisdom. Keith echoed her sentiments through his music, weaving quiet tributes to Nicole and their daughters into his lyrics, reminding fans that behind the spotlight, he was also a devoted husband and father. Yet, even as their family life flourished, both of their careers continued to ascend. Nicole, already one of Hollywood's most respected actresses, entered a new creative era. She took on challenging roles that showcased her depth and range, from Rabbit Hole, which earned her another Academy Award nomination, to Big Little Lies, which brought her Golden Globe and Emmy wins. With every role she took, Nicole deepened her reputation, not just as a movie star, but as a true powerhouse in television, proving her ability to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of entertainment. Keith, meanwhile, was solidifying his place as one of country music's biggest names. His albums topped charts, his tours sold out stadiums, and his performances earned him Grammys and Country Music Association awards. Beyond music, he ventured into television as a judge on American Idol, showcasing his warmth and charm to an even wider audience. Many of his songs reflected his personal life, often filled with lyrics and dedications that kept Nicole at the center of his artistry. Their success, as exhilarating as it was, came with an unavoidable challenge: distance. Nicole's film shoots frequently took her abroad for months at a time: London, Australia, and various locations across the US, while Keith's concert tours kept him constantly on the road. They tried to bridge the gap through video calls, handwritten letters, and whirlwind reunions across continents. Both often spoke about protecting family time, making sure their daughters traveled with them, or carving out stretches of uninterrupted peace together at home. Still, the separation hung over them like a quiet shadow that never truly went away. In public, they radiated affection and unity. They walked hand in hand on red carpets, whispered to each other during award ceremonies, and exchanged the kind of warm glances that cameras loved to capture. Nicole often called Keith her deep, deep love in interviews, crediting their marriage as the greatest blessing of her life. Keith, in turn, expressed his devotion through heartfelt words and songs that spoke of gratitude and admiration. To fans and the media, they seemed to embody the rare kind of enduring Hollywood romance that never fades. Yet behind the glamour, cracks began to form. Keith's long-standing struggle with substance abuse had been part of his story even before their marriage, and just months after their wedding, he checked into rehab. Nicole's decision to stay by his side with unwavering support became a defining moment in their relationship. Keith would later admit that he nearly blew the marriage during that time, recognizing how close they came to losing everything. Their resilience through those dark days became part of their shared legacy, a testament to love, loyalty, and the will to fight for one another. They built a beautiful family and achieved extraordinary success together, but beneath the surface, quiet fractures began to widen. What looked perfect to the world was, in truth, far more fragile. Over time, the distance between them grew, not just in miles, but in emotions. The life they had so carefully built began to shift in subtle yet irreversible ways. Sometimes, love simply isn't enough to hold everything together. For years, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban managed to intertwine their demanding careers with their marriage, but even the strongest bonds can fray when constantly stretched between two worlds. They often spoke about making time for each other despite the chaos of Hollywood schedules and international tours. But over time, the cracks began to show. Nicole continued accepting major acting projects that took her away for long stretches, sometimes overseas, such as filming Practical Magic 2 in London. Meanwhile, Keith was deep into his High and Alive world tour, traveling from city to city, country to country. The separations became longer and more frequent, until the time apart far outweighed the time together. Hints of their troubles slowly slipped into public view. Fans noticed when Keith abruptly ended a radio interview after being asked about Nicole, hanging up before the host could continue. On social media, anniversary posts that once overflowed with affection became shorter, more restrained, or vanished altogether. In interviews, questions about their relationship seemed to make Keith uneasy, as if he was afraid of exposing a story that was quietly falling apart behind the scenes. For a couple once so open with their affection, the silence spoke volumes. The physical distance and the emotional void in their public appearances only deepened the sense that something fundamental had shifted. Nicole, who had always believed in standing by her husband no matter what, found herself facing a growing sense of abandonment. The marriage that once seemed strong enough to survive addiction, distance, and fame was faltering in ways that could no longer be concealed. The love remained, but love alone was no longer enough to keep them together. Now, let's turn to the moment Nicole realized things had shifted beyond repair, the breaking point. By early summer 2025, Keith had reportedly moved into his own place, leaving Nicole and their daughters in the family home. To outsiders, it might have looked like another phase of hectic schedules and career conflicts, but insiders knew it was much deeper, a deliberate step away. Nicole, still clinging to hope, tried to mend the cracks. She leaned on family, reached for the connection they once shared, and believed their bond could survive one more storm. But her efforts were met with distance. Sources close to her revealed that she was blindsided by how quickly Keith began settling into his new reality, one that no longer revolved around their marriage. For Nicole, it wasn't just about living separately, it was about what that choice symbolized. It marked the beginning of the end, and she knew it. The final blow came in late September 2025. On September 30th, Nicole filed for divorce after 19 years of marriage, citing irreconcilable differences. The announcement stunned fans who had long viewed them as one of Hollywood's most enduring couples, a pair who had weathered addiction, fame, and years of distance. Yet behind the polished public image, their marriage had become something neither could hold onto any longer. The divorce papers were signed, but many matters still remained unresolved. The legal chapter of Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's separation began to unfold in late September 2025. On the surface, the paperwork contained the familiar phrase, irreconcilable differences. It's a standard line used in countless celebrity divorces, chosen as much for privacy as for convenience. But for those who had followed their journey, the candlelit wedding in Sydney, the shared struggles, the family they built, it was clear that the phrase masked far deeper pain. At the heart of the divorce filing were their two daughters, Sunday, now 17, and Faith, 14. According to reports, Nicole is expected to remain the primary residential parent, as she has been for much of their marriage while balancing motherhood and her film career. The custody agreement reportedly allows the children to spend approximately 306 days of the year with Nicole and about 59 days with Keith. This distribution reflects not only the practical demands of their careers, but also the reality of where the children's stability has always been rooted, with Nicole. Still, seeing those numbers written down highlights the stark division of a family that once thrived under one roof. Alongside custody, the division of assets and finances has become another layer of this process. Both Kidman and Urban have enjoyed extraordinary success, and with that success comes an impressive collection of properties scattered across the globe, from Nashville to Sydney, from Beverly Hills to New York. These homes once symbolized shared dreams, but in the courtroom, they've become assets to divide. Reports suggest the couple has agreed to forego spousal support, signaling that both are financially independent and willing to walk away without the complications of alimony. The finer details of the property division remain ongoing, but the framework is clear. Their lives, once intertwined at every level, are now being separated piece by piece. The legal terms outline what their futures will look like after the marriage, but it's what Nicole revealed about why she needed to take these steps that changes everything. Nicole Kidman's admissions in the wake of her divorce from Keith Urban have peeled back the polished exterior of their seemingly perfect marriage, exposing the vulnerability and raw honesty of a woman who has lived through both the heights of love and the depths of heartbreak. For years, the public saw a picture of harmony, two globally admired Australians raising a family while balancing glittering careers. But behind closed doors, Nicole now admits, the cracks had been forming long before the final separation. One of the most striking revelations is her sense of betrayal. As she confided to those close to her, this feeling doesn't stem solely from Keith's actions, but from how certain choices were made, abruptly, and without the openness she expected from a partner of nearly 2 decades. The decision to live apart, for instance, reportedly blindsided her. To Nicole, the betrayal wasn't just in the separation itself, but in the erosion of the trust and communication that once anchored their bond. She has also spoken of irreconcilable differences with a gravity that goes far beyond what any legal document could convey. For her, those differences were not abstract. They were about respect, emotional support, and safety, the pillars of a lasting marriage. Love, no matter how deep, cannot survive without those foundations. In acknowledging this, Nicole is admitting something many people never say out loud, that love alone cannot fix what is fundamentally broken. Timing, too, has shaped her decision to speak so candidly. At 58, Nicole is no longer the young star navigating Hollywood's relentless pressures, nor the newlywed protecting a fragile union. She is older, wiser, and grounded. This maturity has given her the courage to voice truths she once suppressed, to admit where the marriage fell short, and to finally prioritize her own well-being and that of her children over maintaining appearances. Still, her admissions are not without humility. Nicole has reportedly acknowledged her own part in the unraveling, hinting at the quiet complexities of a marriage lived under constant public scrutiny. Yet what stands out most is her clarity, the honesty with which she speaks of unmet needs, moments when she felt unheard, or times when her emotions were dismissed. This level of self-reflection reinforces her belief that marriage doesn't thrive on perfection, but on mutual recognition, understanding, and respect. From her perspective, the greatest lesson lies in choosing authenticity over illusion. Nicole has made it clear that, at this stage of her life, she values honesty and autonomy far more than maintaining the image of a flawless partnership. Her confessions are not about blame, they're about truth. Her truth, spoken without fear and without the need for validation. Her courage to share what many would keep private reframes her entire story. Rather than being defined by divorce, Nicole is defining it on her own terms, transforming heartbreak into a narrative of growth, learning, and resilience. She has spoken openly now, but what happens next will determine whether truth becomes her path to healing, reinvention, or something entirely unexpected. Nicole Kidman's story doesn't end with a set of divorce papers. If anything, what follows may define her more deeply than the 19 years she spent with Keith Urban. In the aftermath of the split, sources say she's leaning on her sister, Antonia, her lifelong anchor through turbulent times. Family remains her foundation, especially her daughters, Sunday and Faith. Her priority now, according to those close to her, is to give them stability, love, and a sense of security, even as their family dynamic changes. Professionally, Nicole's future carries just as much intrigue. At 58, with a career marked by accolades and reinvention, she may now take a more selective and introspective approach to her work. Insiders suggest she's drawn toward projects that mirror her personal evolution, stories of resilience, independence, and emotional rebirth. Fans and critics alike will watch closely to see how her recent experiences shape her future performances. Just as her past shaped the authenticity she brought to earlier roles, this new chapter could deepen her artistry in ways that resonate far beyond the screen. On the practical side, co-parenting will define much of her daily rhythm. With primary custody of Sunday and Faith, Nicole's schedule will anchor the family's structure. Keith, though spending fewer days with the children, remains part of their lives. The realities of two global careers now mean that travel, holidays, and milestones will require careful coordination rather than shared spontaneity, a shift both will need to navigate with patience and grace. As with any high-profile split, public perception lingers. Neither Nicole nor Keith has issued a full public statement, but speculation persists that Nicole may eventually speak in a candid interview. If she does, her words will carry more than tabloid weight. They'll become part of her legacy. She's long been admired for her composure and honesty. Now, her willingness to speak truthfully about heartbreak may redefine her image yet again, this time as a woman unafraid to evolve in public view. Beyond the headlines and career moves, the personal dimension of her story remains the most compelling. Divorce, at any age, demands reinvention, but at this stage in life, it can also bring unexpected liberation. Nicole may now focus on setting stronger boundaries, deepening authentic connections, or exploring new creative and emotional possibilities. Some speculate that reconciliation with Keith isn't entirely impossible. After all, time changes perspectives, but most close to the couple view this as a decisive ending, not a pause. For Keith, the road ahead appears quieter. His career continues, but questions linger about how he'll balance fatherhood, sobriety, and self-identity without Nicole by his side. The contrast between their public responses, her composed openness versus his silence, will no doubt keep observers intrigued. So, what are your thoughts on Nicole Kidman's revealing confession? Was this separation inevitable, or could love, somehow, have rewritten their story? Share your thoughts in the comments below.